I'm Anne. Thanks so much for coming back to my channel. This is Intentional Joy Beyond 60. And I think in my last video, I mentioned that I'm working on a series of videos for you that will hopefully provide you with some information to allow you to make informed decisions for yourself and plan for your future as you're aging. I'm also working on a workbook that if you email me, I can provide to you that will guide you through questions to ask and things to look for as you're looking for a retirement residence. And that may be a ways off for you. You may not be needing that right now, and that's just fine. Or you may be caring for an aging parent, and you may be useful for them. So I think the first video I wanted to do was to talk about, let's just start from the beginning. I just turned 60 in April. And so I wanted to talk about 5 things, maybe a little bit more than 5 things, but for sure 5 things that I would encourage you to do in your 60s to prepare for the future. Let's start the conversation now about what do we want our senior years to look like. I say that to my friends and family all the time. I'm at an age now where I get to decide what kind of senior I'm going to be. How's my health going to be? Planning for my financial future. There are all kinds of things that I can do now to make sure that I'm better supported later, and that I'm feeling less burdensome to my family. So if you're like me and you're in your 60s or even your early 70s and you're thinking about retirement, traveling, spending more time with your family, doing some of the things that you've been putting off, I've created a bucket list. I have a whole bunch of adventures that I want to take, and so these are things that I'm starting to think about now. And you should. I would encourage you to do that as well. Your 60s can be one of the most exciting and rewarding chapters of your life, and I'm really hoping that they will be for me. That's my plan, that's my goal, that's part of the reason why I started this channel, because I really intend to seek out joy every single day. When I think of the big picture, I said this to my sister the other day, I just turned 60. If I'm lucky, I may get to live to 80, 85, 90. That's only 20, 25, 30 years away. And time flies when you're having fun. And who knows what the future holds. So I want to make sure that I really start focusing every day on bringing more joy into my life. There's something else that I believe we should also be doing in this decade. And that is preparing for the future. I want us to have fun, but I also want us to plan and be prepared and organized for our aging years when we're maybe less able to do so. And not because we should be afraid of getting older, not because we should assume that something is going to go wrong. You may be one of the really healthy seniors that I've seen at the age of 95 dancing when the music is right. And certainly not because our lives are somehow over after 60, because that's not true at all. I don't believe that for a second. And I intend to prove that that's quite the opposite. In fact, I follow this lady on Instagram. I want to say her channel is something like Aging Disgracefully or something. Just love her to pieces. And I think that she's in her 70s, maybe 80s, I'm not sure. I think 70s, but anyway. She does yoga, she stands on her head. The things that this lady can do, I couldn't have done in my 40s. So she's one of those people that I aspire to be as I age. I believe in preparing for the future, and I think it's one of the best ways that we can protect our independence and give ourselves more choices as we age. Because the decisions that we make now in our 60s, in our early 70s, are going to have a tremendous impact on the quality of our lives in our 70s, 80s, and beyond. And that's just fact. Now's the time when we get to decide what our senior years are going to look like. So today, I want to share 5 things that I believe everyone should be doing in their 60s to prepare for the future. And we may expand on that a little bit, maybe more than 5, but for sure 5. And the best part is, none of these things mean that you have to stop enjoying your life today. In fact, I'm hoping that they will help you to enjoy it even more, because then you will not have to spend any time worrying about things. The first one is financial preparedness. We need to all start with something that affects almost every other decision that we make, our finances. In your 60s, it's a great time to take an honest look at where you stand financially. Do you know what your income will look like when you retire? If you haven't yet, I'm still working, so I need to start looking at that. Do you know when you will retire? Do you know, are there benefits that you will receive from the government, what that looks like, how much you'll receive? In Ontario, where I live in Canada, we have a federal benefit plan, the Canada Pension Plan. We also have a provincial benefit. If I, at the age of 60, I could start drawing on the federal plan, but if I start taking it out at 60, I'll get less money than I will if I defer till 65. And if I defer it till 70, my monthly payment will be even bigger. The Ontario benefit, you cannot take until you're 65. So, and I think that for me is going to be like 800 and change per month. So, between the two benefits, it's not a huge monthly amount. So it's prudent to also have some savings behind you. Or some people have thought that, I'm going to pay off my mortgage, and then the equity in my home, that's going to be my retirement plan. And then I can downsize and use some of that money. Great plan. You just need to understand what your plan is, and maybe work with a financial advisor. That is probably a really good idea. So you have to also start thinking about what are your monthly expenses going to be, and what do you think you might need in the future? Are you going to stay in the same home that you've been living in? Do you own your home? Are you renting? Have you always rented? If that's the case, do you have some savings? Because retirement planning is not simply about having enough money to stop working. It's about having enough resources to support the life that you want to live when you're no longer working. So think about the things that may change over time. Your housing costs may change. Again, are you going to stay in the home that you've been living in? Do you own it? Are you mortgage free? Are you renting? Do you feel like you're going to need to downsize? Will you potentially move in with a family member? Are you going to look at moving maybe into a retirement residence? You need to think about transportation. How long do you think that you'll be able to drive? Do you drive now? Are you in the city where transportation is relatively easy? Are you in a suburb? Are you in the country? And then travel. What does that look like for you? Do you like to travel? Are you planning to travel? I certainly am. Healthcare. Healthcare is a huge one because you really don't know what the future holds. There are lots of things, and we're going to talk about things that we can do now to better support our health as we age and make sure that we stay as healthy as we possibly can to support the lifestyle that we want for as long as we possibly can. But, we all know things happen that are unexpected. And so we need to look at that and prepare for that as well. Home maintenance. If you are planning to stay in the home that you've always lived in, what are the maintenance costs? What does that look like? And potentially the cost of receiving additional help at home or moving to somewhere that provides more support. You don't need to have every answer mapped out today. That's okay. But you should understand your financial picture, and this is a conversation I want us to start having. This is also the time to get your estate planning in order. That may include making sure you have an up-to-date will, appropriate powers of attorney documents in place. Do you know who is going to make decisions for you in the event that you're not able to? Reviewing your beneficiary designations, making sure important financial and legal information and documentation can be found by the people who need it. I think it's a good idea to have a binder with all of your important documents in it and store it somewhere safe, and make sure the person who's going to be holding power of attorney knows where that is so that they can find it if they need to. While we're talking about planning for the future, I think we need to talk about something that many people would prefer to avoid, and that is estate planning and funeral arrangements. This does not have to be morbid. In fact, I consider it an act of kindness. Think about how difficult it could be for your family to make decisions while they're grieving. And I have worked with many families, I can tell you. I've had residents who were very proactive and said, nope, I want to take care of everything myself. I want all of the decisions to be my own. I want to know exactly what I'm spending on my funeral. I don't want my family to have to make any of these decisions once I'm gone. I just want them to enjoy the party, and that's it. Then I've worked with other families where none of those decisions were made, and I've worked with families where the passing was unexpected and nothing was in place. And so then, as they're grieving, they're struggling to make decisions and try to figure out funeral homes and cemeteries, and it can be very painful for families. And so if I can help to avoid some of those issues for my family, that's my goal. So some of the things that you need to think about include, what are your beliefs? Do you have any kind of spiritual or religious beliefs in terms of what your funeral should look like? Are you somebody who's going to want to be buried? Do you prefer cremation? Where might you have those things arranged? Do you want a traditional funeral, or do you want a celebration of life? Do you want a traditional funeral or a celebration of life? Are there particular wishes that you have that you would like to have honored? Ideally, it would be good if your family didn't have to guess. You can communicate your wishes, document them, and if appropriate, consider pre-planning some of those arrangements. The point isn't to spend your 60s worrying about death. It's just to make sure that when the time comes, your wishes are known and your family isn't left trying to figure everything out on their own. That's all. Financial preparation is not about becoming wealthy. It's about creating options. Although wealth is good. That's a good thing. So if you're wealthy, more power to you. And the more options you have, the more independence that you'll maintain. So that's the goal. Number 2, invest in your health and your independence. Your health is one of your greatest resources. This is the second thing that I want you to invest in, and it's something that money just can't buy. It's your health. And your 60s are the time to start thinking seriously about what you can do today to maintain your independence tomorrow. And we've already talked about that. But that means staying on top of your health care. Get the recommended screenings and checkups. See your doctor regularly. Take your vision and your hearing tests, when you need to. Do you have to go for driving tests periodically? I think after the age in Ontario, I think it's after the age of 70 or something, you have to go for more frequent testing. Pay attention to your nutrition and your sleep. Oh my goodness, sleep is so important, and I have learned that the hard way. Your body, my body tells me when I've not had a good night's sleep, so that's important. And most importantly, stay physically active. Again, I've seen residents who throw their walker aside and dance when the music is right, and I've seen people who were in wheelchairs and were not able to walk themselves. So being as active as you can is really important. You don't have to become a marathon runner. That's not what I'm suggesting. But strength, balance, flexibility, cardiovascular health, all of these things become increasingly important as we age. And again, I think back to the lady that I've been following on Instagram who does yoga in her 70s and can do a headstand, and she's just amazing. So we want to make sure that you can, and I would encourage you to test this, because I've had this test at the hospital. I participate in a research study for a gene mutation that runs in my family that causes ALS. It's called C9ORF72. And so every year I go for a full day of testing, cognitive testing, neurological testing, and they check the balance. And so this is one of the tests that they do. Can you independently rise yourself up from a seated position in a chair to a standing position without putting your hands on the arms of the chair and using your arms to lift you up? So cross your arms like this, sit in the chair with your feet flat on the floor, and just stand up from the seated position. Can you do it? Now, if you're really ambitious, you could sit on the floor and see if you can get off the floor on your own. You can use your arms for that one, that's okay. For me, I have a bit of arthritis, and so my knees, I don't know if I can get off. I mean, I can still do it, it's just not pretty. But good things to test and to practice. Can you carry your own groceries? Can you climb the stairs? Do you find that when you climb the stairs, and I do periodically, My right knee gives me a little bit of trouble when I'm climbing stairs. And so that's when I know there's a little bit of inflammation happening, and so I need to be mindful about that. Can you get in and out of the shower on your own? Do you need some equipment to be safer in the shower? Do you need a grab bar? Do you need a shower seat? All of these things are not bad ideas. Walking around your neighborhood, that's a great thing. My sister's in a neighborhood that she and her husband moved into with wonderful people. They have wonderful neighbors. And after dinner in the evening, my sister goes out with a bunch of women from the neighborhood, and they all walk every day. It's fabulous. Again, we talked about driving. Do you have to go for driving tests more frequently? And are you comfortable driving? Are you comfortable driving at night? How does your family feel about you continuing to drive? Conversations to have. I'm not suggesting that you give away your power. I'm just saying be mindful, have the conversations, and look into things. These everyday abilities are what allow us to remain independent. And here's something else that I would encourage you to think about: your brain health. Keep learning, read, try something new, challenge yourself, stay curious, do puzzles. I like to do crochet. I don't know if it's going to help my brain. Brings me peace. Sudoku apparently is pretty good for your brain, so I haven't tried that yet. I may. Because independence is not just physical. It's cognitive, emotional, and social as well. The goal is not simply just to live longer. The goal is to remain capable of enjoying your senior years. That's what I want. I want that for me, and I want that for you. Number 3, start to simplify your home and your possessions. I know that, when I remember moving out of a home that my husband and I shared for 20 years, and my goodness, the amount of stuff, we raised our children in that home, the amount of stuff that we had was unbelievable. You just don't realize how much stuff you accumulate over the years. So this is one thing that I think many people just put off. We accumulate so much stuff, we just kind of put things in closets and in boxes and forget about them in the garage. But it accumulates over time. Furniture, clothing, kitchen equipment, books, collections. I had boxes of children's toys still under the kids' beds that they had when they were toddlers. Oh my goodness, it was crazy. Family memorabilia, boxes of things we just haven't looked at in years. And there's nothing wrong with having possessions. But at some point, we should ask ourselves, do these things still add value to my life? The answer to that is yes, perfect. Keep them all. If you haven't touched them in years, if you haven't used them in years, if they're not really adding value to your life, maybe time to start thinking about maybe passing them forward. Are there mementos or things that your children would like to have that maybe they can take over storing and keep? Or is it something you'd like to take to the Goodwill and a secondhand shop and pass on to someone else who will treasure it just as you did? Our 60s can be a wonderful time to start simplifying. And I'm not talking about throwing everything away. I'm talking about being intentional. Intentional joy beyond 60. Keep the things that are meaningful. Let go of the things that no longer serve you. And think about how much work your possessions create. A huge house filled with belongings requires more cleaning, more maintenance, eventually may become difficult to manage. I actually have worked with some seniors that did become hoarders, and that's a whole different kettle of fish. And I'm not suggesting that that's you. You may discover that having less actually gives you more space, more time, more freedom, potentially more flexibility about where you live in the future. This is also a good time to think about whether your home itself will continue to work for you in the long term. Will stairs become a problem? Is the bathroom accessible? Is there a bedroom and a bathroom on the main floor for you? How much maintenance will the property require, particularly in winter? Do you have somebody who does your snow removal for you? We don't want you to slip on ice. It's important to stay safe. You don't necessarily need to move, but you should begin to think about your options before you're forced to make a decision. Again, it's just about informed choice. There's another benefit to simplifying. You're making things easier for your family. because eventually someone may have to sort through everything that you've accumulated. So why not make those decisions yourself? It can be part of your estate planning. Your stuff should serve you, not the other way around. So, something to think about. Number 4, build your care and your support network. This is one of the most important things that you can do in your 60s. Build your network before you need it. We often assume that if something happens, our children or our family will just step in. That's not always possible. Our children may live in another city or another country. They may have demanding jobs. They may have young children. They may have health or financial challenges of their own. And some of them simply don't have, some people simply don't have family nearby. So ask yourself, who would I call if I needed help today, right now? Who could take me to an appointment if I needed it? Who would check on me if I was sick? Who would help me with groceries? Who could help me if I couldn't drive for a period of time? Who would know what my wishes are? And knowing what my wishes are, would they honor them? Or would they do for me what they think is right, regardless of how I feel about it? That's an important thing to think about. This is where building a care and support network becomes so important. It might include family, friends, neighbors, community organizations, healthcare providers, home care services, private caregivers, and eventually perhaps retirement or supportive living options. We'll go through all of those things. You don't need all of those things today, but you should know what's available. And so that will be part of our video series, is going through all of those options. You should have conversations with the people closest to you. One of the biggest mistakes that we can make is waiting until there's a crisis to figure out who can help us. And when we go back to our financial planning and who's going to be power of attorney and who's going to be the executor of your will, all of those things are conversations that you need to have in advance and make sure that the person's willing to do it. Those things are big responsibilities. So good conversations to start having. Build your network while you're healthy and you're independent. Then, if you ever need additional support, you're not starting from scratch. Number 5, invest in your relationships, purpose, and a social life. Finally, perhaps the most important investment of all, invest in your life. Not just your financial life, your actual life. Because one of the biggest risks of getting older isn't necessarily losing our health or our money. It can be losing our sense of connection and purpose. Retirement can change our daily routines. Our children may become busy with their own families. Friends may move or pass. Relationships can change. And suddenly the social structure that surrounded us for decades can look very different. So don't wait until you're lonely to build your social life. Invest in your relationships now. Call the friend that you've been meaning to call. Reconnect with family. Make new friends. Join a club. Volunteer, travel, take a class, learn something you've always wanted to learn, and think about purpose. What gets you out of bed in the morning? What are you passionate about? What contribution do you still want to make? Because you're still able to make plenty of contributions in this world. Retirement does not have to mean becoming less relevant. It can mean having the freedom to decide what matters to you. Maybe you want to mentor someone, start a business, volunteer, create something, travel, spend more time with grandchildren, or simply explore interests you've never had time for before. Go out and find some new interests. Your 60s aren't just preparation for the rest of your life. They're part of your life. Don't spend this decade preparing so intensely for the future that you forget to enjoy the present. The 5 things to remember. So if you're in your 60s, here are the 5 things that I want you to think about. 1, get financially prepared. Understand your finances, retirement income, future expenses, estate planning, funeral wishes. Number 2, invest in your health and your independence. Take care of your body, your mind, your ability to remain independent. Number 3, start simplifying your home and your possessions. Keep what's meaningful and begin creating a home that will support the life that you want in the future. Number 4, build your care and your support network. Don't wait for a crisis. Know who and what will be available if you eventually need help. And number 5, invest in your relationships, your purpose, and your social life. Build connection, discover what gives you meaning, and continue creating a life that you enjoy. I have worked in many retirement residences where new budding romances started with people in their 80s and 90s. It's never too late. So go out and make some new friendships and reconnect with those that you haven't talked to in a while. Final thought. So here's the message that I really want you to take away from this video. Preparing for the future isn't about expecting the worst. It's about giving yourself choices. If you plan your finances, you have more choices. If you protect your health, you have more choices. If you simplify your home, you have more choices. If you build a support network, you have more choices. And if you invest in your relationships and purpose, you have a richer life, whatever the future brings. We can't control everything that happens as we get older, but we can control many of the decisions that we make today. So don't wait until you're 75, 80, 85 to start thinking about the life that you want. Start now, then go enjoy it. Travel, laugh, dance, reconnect, try something new. Fall in love with life again, because preparing for the future and enjoying today are not opposites. You can and should do both. This is what intentional joy is after 60. Not simply adding years to our lives, but making those years meaningful, connected, independent, and joyful. If this video gave you something to think about, I would love to hear from you in the comments. Which of these 5 areas are you going to focus on first? And remember, your best years don't have to be behind you. There's still so much life to live and so much joy waiting to be found. Thanks so much for being with me today. I'll see you again soon.